great. Unfortunately, we gave 85 billion of it to Afghanistan because we had a bunch of not smart people running that operation. Under my leadership, virtually everyone was better off, including, very importantly, our cherished Hispanic American community. By the way, did you see the poll today? I'm leading in the Hispanic community. I'm leading. That's right. Right? It's the first time in the history of the poll, this particular one, where a Republican is leading with Hispanics. Wow. Look at over there. Look at over there and over. Look at all the people that couldn't get into this place. Wow. They didn't get in. They're screaming from outside with the same amount of enthusiasm. Thank you. That's amazing. You know what? That's like a poll. You know that, right? That's better than a poll. When you see crowds like this, and let's say somebody else came here, anybody, if you had 100 people, it would be a lot. We have thousands and thousands of people and thousands of people that can't get in, which is really very nice, and I appreciate it. We're gonna make our country great again. We're gonna make it great again. When I was your president, Hispanic Americans had the lowest unemployment rate in the history of these polls. You know, these polls have gone back a long way, but they never had numbers like you're having today. Today, the polls are beyond anyone. 6, 7 years ago, you had actual numbers, not polls. You had actual numbers where they were the best till that time. We're blowing them away, and we're blowing them away with African American people who are the single most affected people by what's happening at our border. African American, number one, Hispanic American, number two. They are being horribly threatened because of what's happening, because millions of people are pouring in. And the real number is 18 million. You remember that. I said it earlier. It's because the fake news wants you to think it's bigger than New York State. Bigger than New York State. And that's affecting, I think, I have the highest African American numbers that anyone's seen. And I have the highest Hispanic numbers that anyone's seen. And if those polls are right, that means the Democrats are in big trouble. We better indict Trump a couple of more times. Go ahead. They're going to indict me right into office. Crooked Joe Biden has devastated the Latino community. Biden's inflation disaster has crushed your household finances. I mean, what he's done to your finances are incredible. He's crushed your finances, and his open borders policy, they've demolished your wages. His inflation that he caused, it would have been so easy not to. All it was is energy. Remember this: gasoline, fuel, oil, natural gas went up to a level that it was impossible not. That's what caused inflation. And we're going to bring it down because we're going to go drill, baby, drill. We're drill, baby, drill. We're bringing it way down. And all communities, but again, Hispanic and African American, they've flooded. They've absolutely flooded. He's allowed this to come into our country, coming in from China, from all parts of the world, through the southern border. 4 years ago, they didn't have that. They had to go through hell. I remember I was negotiating the prices of machinery that would capture the scent of drugs. And we had great stuff. By the way, you know what the best machine is? A German Shepherd, a certain German Shepherd. There is no machine that is comparable to our dog. Is that I just thought I'd throw that out, but it's true. How do we get some more of those dogs? I like that better than spending $1 million for a machine that doesn't work as well. But it's true, the crime and all of the problems that have come in. And you got to remember, they could have stopped it, but the black community and the Hispanic community is affected more than anybody else by far. And so remember that when you go to the polls, and especially when you go in November. But on top of it all, Crooked Joe, and I call them thugs, they're persecuting Catholics. Anybody in here Catholic? Anybody? They are persecuting Catholics. I don't know how, I've never seen anything like it. The FBI, the DOJ is persecuting Catholics. And yet, the Catholic vote, you know, with the evangelicals, I got 88%. With the Catholics, we got 50-50. It was a 50-50. I think that's going to change. Catholics, for whatever reason, are being persecuted by, you talk about weaponization, persecuted by Joe Biden's DOJ and FBI. So Catholics, will you remember that, please, in November? I'm sure it'll only get worse. Every disaster Joe Biden has created for Hispanic Americans, I will solve. I'll get it solved, and I'll get it solved and start the process on day one. On day one, we will start that process. That's why we're going to win the record share of Latino votes, the first time ever. We're going to get the record share. And we'll get the highest number of African American votes ever recorded. And I think pretty much everyone is agreeing on that. You know, Senator Tim Scott was on television yesterday, and he said Trump has done more for African Americans than any other president. Opportunity zones, I did that with him. Funding for the black colleges and universities, they had no funds. They would come to the, I'll never forget it. The heads of the black colleges, universities, they would come in and they'd see me every year. I say, after 2 years, I said, what are you doing? They said, for many years, we come in and see the president and we have to beg. He used that term, a great guy. A lot of really good people work hard. They came in and they need funds to keep their schools going. And then you have Harvard, you have all these other places with billions and billions of dollars, and they still get funds, which is pretty stupid, right? But they'd come in and they'd see me and they'd say, we need help. And after the third year, I said, what are you doing this for? And I got them long-term financing, more money than they asked for. And Tim Scott was relating that story today, and many other things, by the way. But you ought to look at opportunity zones. There's never been an economic development program, I think, that for Black Americans and Hispanic Americans, there's never been an economic program like that, opportunity zones, and nobody likes to talk about it, but it's one of the most successful economic development programs. And just to finish that off, I also happen to do a thing called criminal justice reform that Joe Biden didn't want, and a lot of people didn't want it, and a lot of liberal people and some conservatives, it's interesting, had a lot of conservative support and a lot of liberal support. Not a lot of support in the middle, but we got that done. So between those 3 or 4 things, nobody's ever done what I've done for the black community. And Tim, I appreciate Tim saying it this morning on one of the fake shows.